Welcome back to another episode of Local Search Tuesdays. We had so many awesome comments on last week's video, so I'm really excited for this week. I spoke at SearchLove London a few months ago, and once again, I had some of the speakers share digital marketing tips for 2020. We got some really advanced tips this week, and even a killer tip from Rand Fishkin. So make sure you stick around and watch the whole thing.
So what a lot of people do in business when they first start is they tend to dive too deep into stuff and forget the basics. 95% of businesses and 95% of small businesses, the thing that they miss out is their brand. And your brand should represent the size of your authority, the business maturity you have, and the markets you want to be represented in. So for a global business, your brand should have a global footprint. For a local small business, your brand footprint should be small. And small businesses get away with a lot. You can forget the authority, you can forget the business maturity, and just focus on your brand footprint. And your brand footprint only needs to be local if you're focusing on local customers in the local area. So don't bother about trying to place content on BuzzFeed. Don't bother trying to get links. Don't bother trying to create big pieces of engaging content. Just focus on your local brand, local area. So I don't know, sponsor something, sponsor a local school, give something to a charity, make sure you get covered on local blogs, get local links, write local content, get feedback and recommendations and reviews from local customers. That's all you need.
Hi, so my top tip is to involve everyone from your organization, but especially people who talk to your customers. Too many times I work with companies and I get the marketing team in the room, I get the sales team in the room, but I can't get anybody from customer services, I can't get receptionists, I can't get returns people to come and sit because people senior say, oh, we don't need to bring them, we've got the marketing team here. Anyone who talks to your customer has real insights that can feed into search strategy, marketing strategy, anything that you're doing. Always, always, always involve the people who talk to your customers.
The best tip I can give is to consider using the Disavow tool if you've used SEO services in the past. Not all SEO services, but what we're seeing is that some sites that have gone really heavy with article marketing, we've started to disavow some of those links, actually a huge number of those links, and some sites that we're doing that for are actually seeing nice jumps up in search rankings. And so I'm not saying that every site needs to disavow, and disavowing just spammy links that a tool can find probably isn't going to get you ahead. But if you take a look at links that were really made with the intent to manipulate Google rankings and consider disavowing them, you might see some great improvements.
What's up, guys? So my tip, I would say, is SEO is super important, as we know, but it makes a heck of a lot more commercial sense to focus on UX and CRO prior to growing traffic. So to give you an example, if you're converting at 1%, then add in 10% more traffic, you're converting at the same rate. If you focus on conversion to the point where you're converting at 3%, you're going to gain revenue faster and better if you then do that first and then grow traffic afterwards. Another reason why that's really important is because CRO is typically something you can influence in your own environment. It's your own site. But SEO, of course, you have to play the rules. You've got direct competitors in that sort of sense. So to summarize, CRO is absolutely essential, and I would say it's more important than focusing on traffic growth independently. Hope that helps.
It's hard to encapsulate my whole talk into a tip. It's always tricky, but I think the big thing I would say to people now is look at what SERP features are saying about intent. That they're incredibly powerful signals now for the kind of intent Google is looking for and the kind of SERPs they're looking for. So something like site links, they can tell you about brand intent. Shopping can tell you about paid intent. Video tells you that, hey, maybe they're looking for a different kind of content than what you're providing. And if you're focusing on a certain kind of organic link, and this is a video SERP or this is a news SERP, you're probably not going to rank. So they're doing that work to segment this. Pay attention to it and make sure you're targeting the right things.
Okay, so when it comes to doing great search work for more clients, I always recommend setting a goal or target for completing more case studies that prove you actually have the chops to do the work. So one thing we've done is we set a goal of 1 case study per person on the team for a year. More, always welcome, but at least a minimum of 1. So because I now have a team of 30 people, I get 30 fresh case studies by the end of the year. And another thing we do is we actually build out one-sheeter case studies in advance, kind of like writing your own obituary, where we talk about the problem and the solution we're proposing, and then we fill in the results later.
If you are tracking your organic traffic year on year in Google Analytics, and I hope you are, you should be expecting that to change and not to get the same kind of matchup, even if your performance is the same at the moment. That's because cookie expiration is changing in a lot of browsers, particularly Firefox, but it is rolling out to others as well. And Google Analytics uses last non-direct attribution. So previously, a direct visit might well have been attributed to an organic session from maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. If you've got 7-day timeout, that won't be possible. So direct that previously might have been called organic will now be called direct. So your organic traffic conversion will go down, your direct traffic conversion will go up, and your year-on-year numbers will get you in trouble with your boss. Thanks.
We've tested lots of different meta description tests, and we've even done ones where we've removed meta descriptions. We've done tests where we've added them in. 70% are neutral, even removing them. Adding them in has been negative. So stop wasting time writing meta descriptions. It's probably not helping your traffic, and Google replaces them most of the time anyways.
So I set out to give a talk at SearchLove that was all about some misconceptions, including some that I had about how certain things kind of worked. But in the process of researching it, I discovered that actually, not only do I not understand certain bits about how robots.txt is interpreted by Googlebot in the real world, but actually, it seems like there's a lot of confusion and it's impossible to know, because there are situations where the online documentation disagrees with the checker that used to be an old search console, disagrees with the new open source parser that Google is claiming is production code, but also in some situations disagrees with real Googlebot. So I'm calling on Google to clarify this and update the situation.
Crawl budget optimization, the concept of this is nothing but hot air. Because if you truly have a crawl budget issue, you're going to be able to see that by going into your Google Search Console coverage report and looking for the exclusion discovered, currently not indexed. If you have that, all you have to do is get those URLs, put them into your XML sitemap, and Google's going to go off and crawl those. Chances are it's not a crawl budget problem, it's a site architecture problem. So go and delve down into the true root cause of your issues.
My number one tip would be, if you're using the Screaming Frog SEO spider, there's an auto-scheduling feature. And what you can do is you can save your configuration of your current crawl, whatever crawl you want. And then with the auto-scheduler, you can keep using those same settings and then crawl your site over and over periodically. So maybe you're trying to check on a client every month or every couple of weeks. It just saves a lot of time rather than doing it manually.
So I've been playing around with Korra Ads at the moment, and a way to get around trawling through all of the very many questions that you could potentially have your ad on, you can use tools like Ahrefs and find the top performing or most popular pages, and then directly target your ad for Korra Ads on the most popular pages. Super quick, super easy, but will save you lots of time.
So my tip relates to my old days working social media. You get a lot of articles saying you should post at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. That's when everyone's going to be online and engaged. But the problem is everyone watches those posts, watches those videos, or reads those posts. They all post at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. There's masses of noise going out then, and the tip just doesn't really work anymore. You get into this cycle where you keep having to switch. So my tip involves Facebook Insights. If you go into your business page, look at the Insights tab, you'll be able to see a graph of when your audience was most online. You can see the peak of when people tend to be on the platform. So if you post your content for about 10, 15 minutes before that peak, that means you've got a little bit of traction by the time your main audience gets online, but you're not competing with everyone else based on these kind of average of averages suggestions, and you're doing something that's specific to your audience.
Howdy friends, let's say that you would like to make an amazing steak. Could be hanger, could be ribeye, could be New York, doesn't matter. The problem with most of the steak recipes is that they will tell you to take the steak, salt it, put it on your grill, put it on your pan, whatever it is. The problem is that the heat distribution is all wrong, especially at a home situation. So when you go to a restaurant, they have ovens, grills, whatever, that can get up to 1,800, 2,000 degrees, right? You at home can maybe get 650, 700, maybe 750. This is Fahrenheit. And the problem is that almost all of that heat energy is going into removing surface moisture from your steak. That's why by the time it gets crispy on the outside, the way you want it, it is, gray, gray, a little less gray, a little pink, a tiny bit of red, a little pink, gray, gray, gray. And what you want is you want crispy on the outside and then pink or the right amount of red all the way through to whatever doneness you want. If you would like to achieve this, here's how to do it. Take your steak 24 to 48 hours before you want to cook it. Take it out of the packaging, put it on a tray with a plate underneath, like a grate type of situation, so air can flow all around it. Salt it generously, ridiculously generously on both sides. Put it in your fridge, open, right? So it's open to the air of the fridge, and the refrigerator will dry out, and the salt will dry out the surface moisture so that 24 hours later, when you put it in your pan or you put it on your grill, all that heat energy will go right into cooking the meat throughout, and you will not have this gray, gray, a little bit of pink, gray, gray, gray situation. Plus, the salt seeps into the meat, making every bite taste incredible.
So there you have it, another set of awesome tips that will help your business shine online in 2020. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. And now it's that time again. Put your hand on the screen right here. We totally just high-fived because you learned something awesome. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to come back next week for another awesome episode of Local Search Tuesdays.